All right, let's talk about something that affects, well, pretty much all of us, metabolic health. But today, we're going to throw out the old playbook because the latest science is revealing a whole new set of rules that are simpler, way more powerful, and honestly, just make a lot more sense with how our bodies are actually built to work. So get ready to rethink everything you thought you knew about your metabolism. So, I want to start with a question that basically flips the script on decades of diet advice. What if the timing of your meals could actually have a bigger impact on your health than the specific foods on your plate? It sounds kind of radical, I know, but it's exactly where metabolic science is heading. So here's the secret. Your body runs on a 24-hour internal clock. It's called a circadian rhythm. And this clock, it governs pretty much everything, especially your metabolism. This is where this really cool field of science called chrononutrition comes in. It's all about syncing up our eating patterns with this internal clock. And, as you're about to see, it is an absolute game changer. Okay, so let's get into the science of this metabolic clock. This isn't some, abstract idea. It's a hardwired biological fact. And the big problem is that our modern lifestyles, late night dinners, snacking around the clock, weird schedules, we are constantly fighting against it. And this constant battle creates a state that scientists call circadian disruption. The best way to think about it is like giving your body metabolic jet lag every single day. When you eat at the wrong time, you're just confusing all your body's systems, and that directly cranks up the risk for huge problems like insulin resistance and obesity. Your body is just not ready to deal with a big meal at 10 p.m. Let's actually break this down. In the morning, your insulin sensitivity is at its absolute peak. Your body is this super efficient machine ready to grab the glucose from your food and use it for energy right away. But as the day goes on, that sensitivity just plummets. By the evening, your body's in wind-down mode. It's trying to get ready for rest and repair, not process another big metabolic load. So the big question is, how do we fix this? How do we get back in sync? Well, the most powerful strategy that science has found is something called early time restricted feeding, or ETRF for short. It's an incredibly simple idea. You just eat all your food for the day within an early window, say from 7 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, and then you fast for the rest of the time. You're just synchronizing your eating with your biology. And the results? They're absolutely staggering. Studies have shown that ETRF can improve your insulin sensitivity by up to 57%. Now listen to this. This is the most important part. This happens even without any weight loss. This is proof that it's not just about the calories. The timing itself is an incredibly powerful lever for your health. So this brings us to our first major takeaway, our first actionable lever you can pull. Eat early. This is the simple, practical way to apply everything we just talked about, and it might just be the most profound change you can make for your metabolic health. So how do you actually do it? Well, first, front-load your calories. It's that old saying, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Second, set your eating window. That 8-hour window, finishing up by mid-afternoon, seems to be the sweet spot. And finally, and this is key, let your body rest. No food after 7 p.m. This gives the insulin-producing cells in your pancreas, your beta cells, a much-needed break and really supports that crucial overnight repair process. Okay, let's move on to our second lever, because this is where things get even more interesting. It turns out that even within your meals, there's another incredible hack you can use. The order in which you eat your food can dramatically change how your body responds to it. So let's imagine a really common meal, right? A plate of chicken, broccoli, and rice. You've got your protein, your fiber, and your carbs. Now, how do you eat it? Most of us just kind of mix it all together and dive in. But what if there's a much smarter way to eat that exact same plate of food? The rule is unbelievably simple. Protein, fat, and fiber first. Carbohydrates last. So on that plate, you'd start with the chicken and the broccoli. You'd eat those, and then you'd eat the rice. Just changing the sequence, that's it. But the impact is massive. See, eating the protein and fiber first actually slows down how fast your stomach empties. It also triggers key hormones in your gut that help you manage your blood sugar. And the result, as you can see right here, is that it totally flattens that blood sugar curve. We're talking about slashing those post-meal glucose spikes by as much as 70%. That's an effect that's comparable to some diabetes drugs, and it's a completely free, simple change in your behavior. It's wild. And hey, if you want to level this up even more, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in some water before your meal can lower that blood sugar response even further. And try working in some resistant starch. You find it in things like cooked and then cooled potatoes or lentils. It actually feeds the good bacteria in your gut, which improves your insulin sensitivity over the long run. Okay, on to our third and final lever, and this one is all about completely reframing how we think about exercise. This isn't about punishing yourself at the gym for an hour. It's about weaving small, consistent movements into your day, especially right around your meals. This might be the single most accessible health hack in the world. A simple 10-minute walk right after you eat is just incredibly powerful. When your muscles contract, they pull glucose directly from your bloodstream for fuel. They act like a sponge for blood sugar, and that dramatically blunts that big spike you'd normally get after a meal. But what about all the time we spend sitting down? It's a huge problem. Well, a researcher at the University of Houston, a guy named Dr. Mark Hamilton, has found something absolutely revolutionary to fight the damage of our sedentary lives. He calls it a potent physiological method. In other words, he found a way to turn on your metabolism while you're just sitting there. And it all comes down to one very special muscle. It's called the soleus push-up, or SPU. Now, it looks like a seated calf raise, but it's very specific. And what makes it a superpower is the muscle it targets, the soleus. See, most of your muscles run on stored fuel called glycogen, but the soleus is different. It primarily runs on glucose and fats floating around in your bloodstream. What that means is it can work for hours, literally hours, without getting tired, just constantly sipping sugar right out of your blood. So think about what this means. The SPU effectively turns your biggest metabolic enemy, sitting time, into a huge asset. While you're at your desk, while you're watching TV, you can be actively lowering your blood sugar and blood fats. It takes zero equipment, and you can do it for hours without fatigue. It's a total paradigm shift. So there we have it, our 3 levers. Eat early, sequence smartly, and move often. But the real magic, the true power to completely transform your health, happens when you start combining them. They work in synergy. Each one makes the others even more effective. So what does this actually look like in a real day? Let's walk through it. You wake up at 7, maybe get some morning sun to set your body clock. You have a big, sequenced breakfast around 8, followed by a quick walk. You do the same thing for lunch around noon. Your eating window closes with your last meal around 3 p.m. And throughout the day, whenever you're sitting, you're doing those soleus push-ups. Then you wind down at night to get great restorative sleep. It's a framework that creates this powerful, positive rhythm for your metabolism. Now, I know this might seem like a lot all at once, but you don't have to do everything perfectly tomorrow. The real power is just in starting. So I want to leave you with this one question. Looking at these 3 levers, what's the one small change you can actually make today? Maybe it's just taking that walk after lunch. Maybe it's trying to sequence your dinner tonight. Or maybe it's just trying to stop eating 1 hour earlier than you normally do. Just find your starting point, because that one small change is the first step to totally reclaiming your metabolic health.